Live from First Street Studios in South Tampa, Florida. It's time for another round of Last Call.
Dano, new to the Tampa area.
Yep.
You talked to me 2 years to move down here, come down here and be part of Last Call 76.
Yep.
Now I'm here. I'm a championeer? A Tampaneer? What do you call it? What's the proper?
Tampa Bay.
I'm a Tampa Bayan. Love it here. I love the sports atmosphere here, man. I mean, look at the atmosphere. You got the Buccaneers, right? 2 Super Bowl wins.
Yes.
Right? You got the one recently, a couple years ago when they beat the Chiefs. We all forget about the one where, John Gruden laid the smackdown on the Raiders back in the day with Brad Johnson.
Absolutely.
We got the Lightning, multiple Stanley Cup wins, perennial Stanley Cup team, the Beast of the East.
Yes.
You could even say South Florida football's been halfway decent. Now let's talk about the Rays, though.
But let's not forget the Rowdies, too.
Oh, we can't forget about the Rowdies.
Real quick point on that.
Please.
Remember, the Rowdies used to be awesome here.
They were unbelievable.
They played in the old Sombrero Stadium.
Yeah.
We had a great team back then, and then now they play down in St. Pete, down by the Rays, like we're going to talk about. But if you think about what they're doing now, they're not in the MLS, though. They're in another league or whatever. But anyway, go ahead with what you said. I didn't mean to...
No, by all means, please.
Just a great team.
Great team. Let's look at what the Rays have done. They have been the model of consistency since 2008 when they first made the World Series. It's almost like they eliminated the Devil Rays name and they exercised the demons. See what I did there?
Yeah.
And they've been one of the best teams in the American League, constantly in the playoffs, constantly competing for the top of the AL East, which is not easy because you're talking about a team that operates on a shoestring budget going against the Yankees, who treat it like monopoly money, the Red Sox, who treat it like monopoly money, even the Blue Jays, who've been throwing cash around never mind. You follow my train of thought.
Yeah.
Yet, through all this, the Rays can seemingly not draw fleas to chocolate. I'm confused by this because the team is always good. They've got players you can relate to. Yet now, the longest argument I've heard, now I've yet to be out to St. Petersburg. I know you said before one of these days we're going to take a trip down there so you can show me how far it is. The biggest argument I've heard is that it's the location. From here to St. Petersburg is, 45 minutes, an hour?
About 35, 45.
35, okay. We need a new stadium. That's been talked about for 20 years. The Sun Dome, whatever, Tropicana, that was built in 1990. I was still in elementary school and I'm an old fart. But they finally get a stadium. Their plan is to literally put it across the street from where their current stadium is. Now let me ask you this, Dan. You live in a you're driving a car with a blown transmission. Would you go out and buy a car with a cracked engine?
No.
That's what the Rays are seemingly doing here. If the problem really is the location, moving it from across the street, one part of St. Petersburg to maybe 15, 20 steps away, is that going to fix the problem? To me, that's like sticking a Band-Aid on a broken bone. Maybe they'll have the aura of, okay, we got this beautiful new home, and it's not this dilapidated, rundown joint that should have been torn down 10 years ago.
It was remodeled, though.
Remodeled, exactly. It's not like they're playing in a place that has holes in it.
No.
So, number one question, I guess, why can't the Rays catch on? And number two, is this stadium issue that's going to be $1.3 billion going to really fix the problems? Or is it just going to give a temporary honeymoon period where people come out to see the shiny new toy and then back to square one?
Well, I think the short answer is it extends the lease of the Rays being here, right? We talked about that instead of going, what was their plan before?
They play in Montreal half the year.
Half year. That's not going to work. That would be even worse.
That's like junior.
I really think, and I may be wrong, but just looking at the analytics of it, Florida in the grapefruit leagues back in the day, right, in our spring training, we get so much baseball. I mean, you got the Phillies who are playing amazing.
Right.
You got the Yankees right across from the Buck Stadium, and then you got Toronto out in Dunedin,
right.
And then the Mets are, I think, out in Lakeland or wherever they're at, I don't know if it's just because we have the spring leagues that the Rays aren't catching on. If that makes any sense, though. Because you're watching the whole spring training go down here, and then you got the single and double A ball and triple A ball that gets played around as well. So I don't know if that's the point. I think the location is another factor. I said for years, and I'm going to show you the Gandy track. That means all the guys coming from South Tampa can go straight over Gandy and the Greyhound track that's there.
I got to see this before.
Yeah, I'm going to show you. And then all of us can jump 10, 15 minutes to go watch the Rays every day. That's where I would have put it. If I was the owner of the Rays, I would have done everything. Right now, it's an Amazon parking lot, and then there's a gambling place out there, right? So my point is, I don't know what the right answer is, and I don't know how you put fans in there. Some people have told me, and I agree, going to a couple of the games, it's not baseball. But other people could argue that and say, well, it was baseball with the Houston Astros in the Astrodome. Same scenario. Back then, AstroTurf was like your grandma had on her mobile home porch, right? So they played baseball there.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know what it is. It's, for me, it's inconvenient. Now, other people could sit and seemingly could say the same thing. It's inconvenient to go to a Bucks game and a Lightning game, and they go.
Right.
So it's not an argument to have. But for me, I'm 10 minutes from Ambly. Just roll right out my house here up Bayshore, and I'm there. Or I go down McDill Avenue and I'm right at the Bucks Stadium in 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
So I'm being selfish to say I don't want to drive 45 minutes. But baseball also, on the other hand, is not football, and it's a weekly deal. So I don't mind the 20-minute drive to Ray J.
Right.
But if you're a real baseball fan, you go to all the home games, just like Wrigley does,
Exactly.
just like Fenway does, right? And what is it, Camden Yards, up there with the Orioles. Yeah. So my point is, that's how you get a fan base. You got to make it so desirable. Build a ballpark like St. Louis did, and like the Orioles did, and like when we moved out of what was it, RFK? Not RFK. The one in Atlanta though.
Turner Field.
Yeah, that is now. That's what I'm saying. The new old look school.
Yeah.
Before they were playing somewhere else. I can't remember.
Fulton County Stadium?
Fulton. But my point to it is that kind of has to go with the whole vibe. Like, so Ybor City was on the target list because it's all red brick roads and it's all, right, Jess, all that stuff. So it would have been perfect to put a ballpark because it has the feel with the old cigar brick buildings, as a cigar town. And then it has all the breweries there. It's like Cigar City, blah, blah, blah. If you want to sponsor me, please do. But
we're not hard to find.
So my point to the whole thing though was, so I just don't understand the St. Pete location. It's in the same spot and there's no like cool like Ybor City around it. You know, I mean, St. Pete's beautiful right now though. You go down to the piers, all been redone. So you don't throw no shade on St. Pete. Other than 275 going down there. It looks like I'm on Route Irish in Baghdad. It's bad, isn't it? I mean, it's filthy. I don't know why, because you drive through here in South Tampa and Tampa, all the interstates are all lit up now and they've put infrastructure in that looks amazing. Okay. So you're driving, the lights are either red or blue for which team's playing. Yeah. You go over Gandy and you get on 275 on that loop around and it looks like you straight on Route Irish or Bon Jovi's in Iraq, you know? So it looks trashy. So I don't know if that has a turn off for the Tampa Bay people. I don't know. Or is it we're just had enough of baseball for the spring? Or is it just too inconvenient to go 45 minutes when we're all spoiled rotten for our Bucks and Lightning?
See, that's the thing I want to bring up too. Okay, the Lightning, their season runs from October to May. Now, they don't have as many games as Major League Baseball, 162 games. Now, granted, 82 of them are at home. Hockey is, I think, 42 or 43 home games.
I think so. They're in the 80s total.
Yeah, so there's not as many games. I get that. But baseball has a lot more history in this area. Well before the Rays became a thing. People don't remember this. Tampa was the hot market. Every team that was having stadium problems was using Tampa as the mistress, for lack of a better term. We're going to move to Tampa if we don't get our way. The Giants almost moved here. The White Sox almost moved here. I can name you a dozen teams that almost became the Tampa Bay et ceteras.
Yeah.
They almost got 3 different expansion teams. But they've got more history, yet hockey has caught on. Hockey has caught on. And can we say it's a success? I mean, look, the Rays have won. The Rays have been the model of consistency. They've been more consistent than the Bucks. Realistically speaking,
100%.
the Bucks had them 2 really good years, and they've been middling back in between. The Lightning, even, they had that first Stanley Cup with Martin St. Louis and LeCavalier back in the early 2000s, in 2005, 2006. Then they won a little bit, made another Stanley Cup, lost in 2013. And in the last 4 years, they've been it. But the Rays have been that model of consistency. But people don't go 18,000 people for a playoff game, Dan.
19,127.
19,127 people for a playoff game. I'm sorry. I love this area, and I love me some Rays. That's embarrassing, bro. Playoff game? I'm not lying to you. I lived in Arizona before. I went to spring training games that almost had that many people there.
Absolutely. High school games in Texas have that many people.
Exactly. When you're talking a Major League Baseball team that won 99 games this year, 4th best record in baseball, you can only draw that under 20,000? What's up, man? That's just something need to be done.
So I'll give you. You gonna say something, Jessica?
I think them putting the pitching saves the time on the game, which I think has brought more people to watch. Before, I couldn't stand baseball because it's a never-ending game.
What about the second base clock? If you're on, what is that, Jay?
People moving.
She brought up a great point. And those of you that didn't get to hear her, Dan, she said they've made some improvements. And I think you heard her, but I hope you did because she's got a great voice and she articulated that very well. They've made some changes to baseball that some of the purists cannot stand.
Sure.
But you know what? Nobody likes change. They've added the time clock, makes the game a lot shorter, which, look, we live in an ADHD society. But what is this? People don't want to see a 4-hour game. They want 2 hours in and out the door. They've added some other rules that have made it more fun to watch. But again, I bring up the fact, though, you move it from here over to here, you flush the toilet, the stink's still there. You follow my train of thought here? Are you going to get more than 19,000 people because you moved it across the street? Eventually, the honeymoon's going to wear out. People will go, I want to see the new toy, I want to see the new stadium. You'll get people coming from out of town. The ballpark hoppers. It ain't going to be no different. It ain't going to be any different at all. I don't know. Maybe it's...
Well, I mean, but in the same argument, other stadiums have done the same thing.
Sure.
I mean, obviously Dallas didn't. They moved from Irving to Arlington. But if you look at the Astrodome, it's still there. I think it's down now, but they built the stadium right next to it.
Right.
But they had a fan base.
Right.
All the way back from the Oiler days, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is. Good points, though, trying to accelerate the game. Absolutely. But I will say that I went to the Jelly Roll concert the other night, the same night as the playoffs, and there was 19,700 people in the amphitheater. So if Jelly Roll and Struggle Jennings can put on a concert at the state fairgrounds and put 19,000 people in there, how in the hell, my cuss word for this week,
his T word,
how in the hell can you not put 19,000 people in the Trop?
What's Jelly Roll?
We'll talk about it.
Hey.
But Jelly Roll, that was a great concert. And I'm just telling you, I never heard of the Joker until I was up in New Orleans hanging out there for a while. And I'll just tell you, it was an entertaining show to say the least. But anyway,
Jay is a Swiftie because he knows who Taylor Swift is, doesn't know who Jelly Roll is.
Right. Oh yeah, there you go.
I do have a 21-year-old daughter. Let that be.
But with all that being said, I hope the stadium will actually stimulate the economy in St. Pete.
Yeah.
Because let's just be honest, we have an advantage in the Tampa Bay area because we get the Yankees, which is number one team popular, just like the Cowboys in the NFL. So we already get all of that income. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning's an amazing hockey team. And then you got the Tampa Bay Bucks that people, all the years of suffering.
The Yucks, remember that?
Yeah, and then finally, though, the John McKayers, back in the AFC West that nobody really knows about, they started there. Then the NFC North, and now we're here in the South. But 2 Super Bowls is a lot better than a lot of other teams that don't have any that have been along way longer.
I'm a fan of a team that has not won a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I get it. Hey, by the way, real quick, Jess is my favorite producer of all time. She just called me a Swiftie.
Well, because you didn't know who Jelly Roll.
We're going to have a conversation after this video about I don't do the Swiftie stuff. No, but here's a quick trivia question for you. Anybody that gets this, you'll get a shout out on a future Last Call 76 video. Who's the first ever starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Don't Google search it. That's weak sauce. You know this.
I do.
You can't answer.
But we're going to say
You can't answer. You got to answer the question. First person that gets it, we'll mention you here on future upcoming video of Last Call 76.
Welcome back. It's time for another edition of Last Call Fan Mail. And I'm going to pull out the question. Jay, in your opinion, why was Tim Tebow not given a fair shake or ridiculed, in your opinion?
We're going to avoid the political aspect of this.
Completely, we don't do that.
We don't do the political, we don't do politics on here.
I'm asking you from a fan.
From a fan.
Asking why was Tim Tebow, after beating the Pittsburgh Steelers into playoffs, well on his way, automatically ousted?
Typecast. He was typecast as not your traditional quarterback, unfortunately by a guy in John Elway, who was not your traditional quarterback coming into the league. And it didn't hurt that some guy by the name of Peyton Manning became available. That explains why Denver got rid of him. Why no other team didn't give him a fair shake? I don't know. Was Tebow ever going to be your typical pocket passer? No. But I think Tebow was victim of wrong place, wrong time.
I agree with that. But when you look at the way the game is now, was he that much different than Jason Tatum over the Saints?
No.
He could play the position.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the problem? And then he had to move the tight end. I thought that was ridiculous, but he was just trying to do anything to survive in the NFL. He's doing well in his broadcasting career. But I look at it at the game I watched, and he marked up the Pittsburgh Steelers in the air. It wasn't with his feet. He threw the ball very well. John Elway is the person that crucified his career. And then after that, maybe he didn't fit the other styles of offense. This is my opinion. I don't think he was getting a fair shake.
No.
You know, and I think he was a winner, and he could have won for some of these teams, especially all of these other shows we talk about. All of these duds.
Yeah.
At least you were getting 100, and he would have kept evolving and evolving and evolving. So, yeah, I think this individual who wrote this has a legit point. I think he was ousted unnecessarily. I mean, his last game was losing the NFC Championship, right? Because he had just won
the AFC Championship to the Patriots. He had beat the Steelers. The Steelers had just won the AFC Championship the year before.
So wouldn't you say that was an ousting that was unnecessary?
It was totally unnecessary.
Take the political aspect out of it, of the kneeling that people had a problem with or whatever. Well, let's not talk about God. Let's not do this at that time.
Right.
But Dion says it every day in Colorado. It's not a problem. I guess we just change with the times.
The climate.
I don't have a problem if they say it or not. Everybody has the freedom of expression and religion. But in this particular case, I don't know if the religion aspect played into it. I don't know if it was a talent thing. But to me, I see it as he beat Pittsburgh and lost to the Patriots in the NFC Championship game. I believe that's what that was in Denver, right?
Absolutely.
They beat them at Denver.
At Denver, in overtime.
Yeah, so what was the issue?
There's said wrong place, wrong time, and a coach, owner that was a hypocrite.
Evidently.
A hypocrite. And not because of his beliefs. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about he was the untraditional quarterback when he broke into the league too. You think of anybody, he would be the one that would have given Tebow a chance. But hey, Dan, who asked that question, my man?
I don't know. Can you? I didn't.
Let's take a look here. Dustin.
Oh, that was from Dustin. Thanks a lot.
And anybody, know the drill from here. Leave those questions in the comment section below. And as always, like us, share us, subscribe to us. Click that bell notification button. You see it up there? Helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And hey, keeps us giving us entertaining content like we do. More questions coming up here next week.